Hello and welcome to Business Live. Coming up, economist Patrick Esuming advises government to be measured in responding to rating agencies as Fitch warns Ghana risk further downgrade to default status.
It means that, more drastic measures are needed in terms of addressing the expenditure issues as well as bringing in more revenue lines.
Also, economist Courage Buti supports government statistician as he cautions that it's too early to conclude inflation has peaked.
I agree with Professor Nim on his assertions, and the reasons I believe are spot on. The trends in the data are actually at a point now where you can't conclusively say that we've reached a peak.
Plus, civil society organizations in the energy sector backs call for local contractors to be involved in the relocation of the Ameri power plant to the Ashanti region. We'll tell you why.
We actually imported $2.7 billion. So if you look at it, you think Ghana is a net exporter. But our component out of the $3.9 billion was $500 million.
I am Beverly Broohm. Please stay for details. Hello and welcome. Let's settle for the details now. Ratings agency Fitch has indicated that it will not hesitate to downgrade Ghana's credit worthiness to default status. That's if the country's finances do not improve soon. This was captured in the agency's latest report on Ghana's credit assessment. George Riafe has the details.
This is one of the scenarios captured in the agency's report on Ghana in terms of the way forward when it comes to the country's credit ratings. It indicated that Fitch will respond accordingly if the country's finances worsens due to slippages or, let's say, worsening debt market conditions. Fitch was also quick to add that it would not hesitate to move Ghana into an improved position should the country's finances improve. The latest verdict on Ghana by Fitch is more of a warning to investors of the likelihood that the Ghana government could default on its bonds when the payment dates are due to the current challenges it is having with its finances. Now, this warning is required because these investors depend on the report by Fitch to participate in Ghana bonds. A careful look at the report showed that Fitch was also worried that closing an IMF deal by the second quarter of this year could be under threat. That is, if government is not able to present a credible plan on dealing with Ghana's debt situation after IMF placed Ghana on high risk of debt distress for last year. Ghana is also due to make some $2.7 billion payment to investors before the close of this year. And there are concerns that looking at its current financial position, it might struggle to do this. For some, the biggest challenge here is how this will impact negatively on private firms in the country that might want to go to the international market to raise some funds.
Meanwhile, economist Dr. Patrick Esuming has advised government to be measured in responding to rating agencies that have downgraded Ghana's economy. According to him, the assessment of the economy is conducted in good faith to help countries put in measures for recovery.
This has come on the back of just recently we've reviewed the mid-year budget, where we provided an update on our fiscal positions. Obviously, the rating agencies haven't found that to be very impressive at all. So I think it means that, more drastic measures are needed in terms of addressing the expenditure issues as well as bringing in more revenue lines.
Yeah, government's response to S&P was to tout the bold measures it has taken recently to raise revenue and cut down on expenditure. I bet it's still their response to Fitch's downgrade. Is that a good response enough, if you like, to this recent assessment?
The posturing when government responds by criticizing is not helpful. I mean, the last response by the finance ministry was just recapping the measures that the rating agencies are already seen. Their message was that this is not enough. This doesn't impress us. So instead of responding and repeating exactly what they already know, I think the government would have been better served indicating that they are going to redouble their efforts to fix, to improve the fiscal situation rather than go on that trajectory of criticizing.
Now, yesterday, the Statistical Service released the July inflation figure of 31.7%. However, the rate of increase has slowed down over time. Some analysts have suggested that we have reached the peak, but government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna-Enim says it's too early to reach that conclusion.
Between May and June 2022, we saw a 2.2 variation, and now we are recording a 1.9 variation between June and July 2022. I think it will be early days for us to say that it's peaked, and I think it will be early days for us to say that the variations on a month-on-month from between 2 months for year-on-year inflation is also showing a decline. Although, admissibly, we are seeing that between March and April 2022, we saw 4.2, and now we are seeing 1.9. Why we say it's early days is that if you pay attention to the disaggregations, last month we saw that the contribution of food inflation really dropped by about 2.1 percentage points, and non-food inflation was driving it, and now we are seeing a reverse of that. So at the level of disaggregation, we're seeing a lot of variations in terms of what is driving it. So at this stage, it's difficult for one to pinpoint what is really driving the 4.2, that variation that we saw between March and April 2022, and the 1.9 variation that we are seeing between June and July 2022. So we would hesitate to say that we've peaked and we're going to see a drop, but we're going to monitor and see what happens in August, September, and see whether we have some discernible patterns to enable us to say that we've peaked and we're going to see a decline moving forward.
Now, with the current trend of the inflation rate, economist with GCB Capital, Courage Buti, has supported assertions that it is too early to conclude that inflation has peaked at 31.7%. He argued that with the depreciation of the cedi and Ghana's reliance on imports, inflation may still see an upward trend at a lower rate before peaking.
I agree with Professor Nim on his assertions, and the reasons I believe are spot on. The trends in the data are actually at a point now where you can't conclusively say that we've reached a peak. I must say that what in statistics you call a point of inflection is more appropriate now, because the slope of the curve seems to have slowed down. The rate of increases on a monthly basis have slowed down. Yes, he's right. From April thereabout, we've seen the monthly rate of increase slow from some 4.2% in April to 4% in May to 2.2% in June, and now to 1.9%. Clearly, it's on a decline. So you can say that the rate of increase has slowed down. You look at it on a month-to-month basis, from April, food inflation declined from 4.2% change to 3.5 to 0.6 in June, which was quite significant. But then in July, you see a climb again above the 0.6, now to 1.6. And the reverse happened for non-food, where it declined from 4.3, increased to 4.4, decreased to 3.4, and now 2.2. So there is no clear discernible trend at this point in time to say that inflation has peaked. And if anything at all, the recent spate of depreciation and it passed through to general prices, and the fact that even if crude oil prices are declining on the world market, exchange rate is a big part of the determination of export prices. And to the extent that exchange rate pressures remain, it could even erode the gains on crude oil prices, and by extension would actually keep fuel prices at the pump elevated. And then there is the small matter of the utility tariff review that has been deferred, its implementation deferred, coming to stream, I believe, next September. All of these are price pressures. And so I believe it's early days yet to anyone to start jumping that inflation has peaked. But there are signs that it's approaching a peak.
Now, away from inflation, the Alliance of Civil Society Organizations working on extractive anti-corruption and good governance is supporting calls by the African Center for Energy Policy. That's the contract for the relocation of the Ameri power plant from the Western region to Kumasi must be on a competitive bidding with local participation. According to the Alliance, this will help reduce the cost of relocating the plant, which is expected to stabilize power to the Middle Belt. There's more in the following report.
The decision to relocate the Ameri power plant to the Ashanti region is to support the effort by government to stabilize power in the Middle Belt of the country. Addressing journalists in Accra, member of the Alliance, Samuel Bequin, called on the Minister for Energy to consider other options on the table before going ahead with the current deal. He believes there are other sustainable and cheaper ways to improve power supply in the area than moving the Ameri plant.
We are saying that review other options, which we believe some of the other options may be cheaper than the relocation that you want to undertake now. So that is what we wanted to say about that. Number two, whether the contract have not been signed. I think just in July, the minister went to Parliament and indicated their intention to give the contract to miscellaneous. And it's quite clear in Parliamentary Hansard.
The group believes government can use other state agencies like the Volta River Authority and the Gridco to carry out the exercise to save costs.
It has come to our attention that even the VRA Senior Staff Association had also petitioned the minister to allow VRA to operate and manage the plant in the national interest on the account of their established capacity and technical know-how. Their technical know-how in hydro, they have capacity in thermal, which is heavy duty, and solar power generation as well. We understand that GRA currently manages more complex combined cycle turbines and thermal plants. We have the Abuaze and the Tema power generation enclave, which is all managed by GRA. Specifically, we know that the Abuaze power complex, where TAPCO T1 and TICO T2 run, is managed by VRA.
The contract sum is also expected to decline if the process is taken through competitive bidding to select the best company.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, the Bank of Ghana has assured that the introduction of its digital currency will not lead to the collapse of the mobile money payment systems. According to the regulator, it will rather enhance such transactions. Here's more in the following report.
At a stakeholder forum on the impact of central bank digital currency and future of digital payment, Assistant Director of FinTech and Innovation at Bank of Ghana, Clarence Blay, pointed out that the central bank is committed to protecting the business of mobile money services.
Even those people who are responsible for mobile money are saying that they are waiting for the ECD because it will help them in cost reduction, it will facilitate efficient settlement of their transactions, and will reduce reconciliation charges and enhance the integrity of payment service provision in this country. What again can we say? When those people that you are concerned about, they themselves are praising what the central bank is doing, that means that I don't have much to say in that direction. This is a very good thing, and let us also support. And I said that for the central bank, one of the critical guiding principle of this ECD project is complementarity. The ECD is going to complement what is already in place and enhance it, and also is going to be interoperable with the existing system. So it's not going to supplant any other system that is in place. It's going to make them vibrant, more efficient, and push the space forward.
The Chief Executive Officer of Mobile Money Ghana Limited, Elihini, also allayed fears that the central bank digital currency or ECD will have a negative impact on Momo. He further noted that the ECD will rather improve the efficiency of settlement and enhance the activities of mobile money platforms and further promote cross-border trade.
We have more news on myjoyonline.com/business. I am Beverly Broohm. Thank you so much for your time. I'll be back same time tomorrow. Have a good evening.